of the former president inside that New York City courtroom where his lawyers and prosecutors are currently arguing over what evidence and which witnesses can be put in front of a jury. We expect jury selection, what's called voir dire, to start as soon as these particular arguments are over. CNN's Kara Scannell has been inside the courtroom all morning. She joins us now live. Kara, what has the environment been like inside that room so far today? What's happening right now? And I don't know how much you were able to see it, but I'm looking at the courtroom sketch, and Mr. Trump looks like he is glowering. I don't know how it's art. It's not necessarily it's artistic journalism, but it's not a photograph. But has that been his demeanor inside?
You know, Donald Trump has been very engaged, has been paying attention. I've seen that from my vantage point, he's been biting his lower lip at times. You know, he was talking to his attorney, passing a note to him at one point, and leaning forward to look at the screen in front of him. And on that screen is some of the evidence that the prosecution is going over with the judge about whether they can use it in that case. So in some of these instances, it is actually tweets that Trump had put up, Truth Social posts, and also they played some video of Trump at campaign rallies right around the presidential election. So he paying attention pretty closely to that. I mean, his expression is one that I would say leans more toward frustrated and annoyed that he's in there, but he is paying close attention. You know, he hasn't spoken inside the courtroom right now. This is just the discussions between the attorneys and the judge as they're trying to fine-tune what the jury can hear based on some of the judge's prior rulings. They're just trying to make sure they understand the contours of what they can say to the jurors. And that's important because, as you said, the potential jurors have not come into the room yet. But once the judge begins the questioning, the attorneys for both sides will be able to weigh in and ask their own questions. So they want to make sure they understand what is okay for them to say as they begin also to think about how they're going to present this case to the jury. So, you know, a lot of the questions right now have been around Michael Cohen. He is a central witness in this investigation. He's going to be one of the prosecution's key witnesses because he was involved in structuring these deals, and he was also the person who was repaid the deals. And that is where this alleged crime took place, in how Cohen was reimbursed, how that was documented on the corporate books. So right now, you know, the prosecution and the judge going back and forth over what he will allow. Once this wraps, though, then the jury pool will be brought into the courtroom and will actually begin the process of voir dire. Jake?
Right now, we're being told, Lanny, that there's a debate between prosecutors and the defense attorneys in front of the judge about what the jury can be told about the crimes that Michael Cohen was found guilty of. What do you make of that? Why do you think it's important one way or the other?
Well, I don't make much of it. They're already public knowledge. He pled guilty and went to jail. He withstood harsh cross-examination already by the Trump team in the New York Attorney General's office. It was very harsh. The judge heard it all and made a decision that Cohen was credible. I suspect that 12 jurors will hear similar attacks on his credibility because he was convicted and pled guilty to these crimes, most of which were done on behalf of and according to federal prosecutors at the direction of Donald Trump. And then we'll see whether the jurors find him credible. That's up to them.
So Mr. Trump's attorneys will no doubt say something about the fact that Mr. Cohen has been found guilty of perjury, and they'll say something along the lines of, you were found guilty of lying then. Why should we believe you now? And what would be your answer?
Well, if I'm his lawyer, I would say tell the truth, that you lied about the duration of your calls concerning the Moscow Trump Tower. That was the charge, that was the lie to Congress, and that he did it not for his own benefit, but at the direction of Donald Trump. And if there's a quarrel about whether it was at the direction of Donald Trump, the evidence found by federal prosecutors in the Trump DOJ administration used the word direction. So that would be what Michael Cohen will say truthfully. And that happened during the New York AG trial, and he was found to be credible.
Michael Cohen has gone through quite a transformation from one of Donald Trump's most loyal lawyers, employees, fixers, to a key witness in this very first criminal trial against Donald Trump. In fact, one can say he's the key witness in the trial against him. Why does he now think this is the right thing to do?
Well, it's a long process. He first called me in June of 2018 and said he wanted to go public and tell the truth. I asked him why, and he said that he wanted to do it for his family and his country. And then we tested that in front of the American people and the world in public testimony before the House Oversight Committee. He began the testimony by saying, "I'm ashamed. I have no excuses. I do not ask to be forgiven." So he owned his crimes. And then the question is whether these 12 jurors will believe him, and I'm going to leave that up to the jury.
Jamie?
For the record, Donald Trump has denied this alleged sexual encounter, but one of the underlying questions here is what was the motivation for the payment? And two things can be true at the same time. So Trump's lawyers might say it was to protect his wife from finding out about what he denies happened. The other is we're in October, Access Hollywood has happened, he's running for president, and we're in the weeks leading up to the election. Do you have any insight from what you know about the case about what might speak to the election being the motivation?
Yes, I have a lot of insight because I sat in the room for almost 2 years with prosecutors questioning Michael Cohen, and I can't talk about that. I can only say, which I've been allowed to say before, whatever Michael Cohen says about the timing of that payment, end of October before the election, in the courtroom, will be surrounded by text messages, telephone records, documents, and other corroborating witnesses. So I can assure you that it will not be Michael Cohen's testimony alone that will describe the political motivation of the timing